What's going on, you guys? Keith Carnes here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going into the wrestling side of things here on my channel, and today we're talking about a horrible, tragic death that occurred on May 23rd, 1999. That, of course, being the death of the late, great Owen Hart. So, Owen Hart, of course, was without a doubt one of the greatest wrestlers, even though his career was extremely short-lived and he didn't get to really even reach his full potential in the ring before his freak accident of a death. But one thing that Owen Hart was definitely amazing at was not only in the ring, but he was just an amazing heel. I mean, that guy could make you hate him like no tomorrow. I mean, his feud with Bret the Hitman Hart, his brother, is unparalleled. I mean, it is one of the greatest feuds in history. I think it's extremely underrated. I think a big reason WWE doesn't really touch on it too much is because of all the, bad stuff there with Martha Hart, the widow of Owen, and we'll get into that in a little bit here. But the point of this video is I just wanted to get my thoughts out on Owen Hart, his death primarily. I'm a huge Owen Hart fan. He was definitely before my time. I didn't start watching wrestling until about May of 2003. So this year marks 13 years since I started watching wrestling, and he had already been deceased for about 4 years when I started watching wrestling, give or take. So Owen, I didn't watch him when he was around, but I've watched his, classic matches. His match with Bret at WrestleMania 10 is one of my favorite matches of all time. I think it's, like I said, I think it's criminally underrated. But because of the circumstances surrounding Owen's death, WWE doesn't like to throw Owen into the front lines too much just to avoid problems with his widow. Even though they finally did release a DVD/Blu-ray about him, thank God, because Owen deserves that, and it's just sad that he hasn't been able to be recognized because of personal bullshit. So, I just wanted to get my thoughts out here about Owen, primarily his death, my opinion on his death, who I think is at fault, if anybody, and what I think about the way his wife has handled his death since it happened on May 23rd, 1999. And I just want to give you guys my thoughts on it. So, of course, Owen Hart has one of the most infamous deaths of all time. Unfortunately, his death kind of overshadows his career because people primarily just focus on his death because of how extreme it was. Excuse me, how extreme it was and how horrifying it was that it happened in front of people. And one of the things that I definitely kind of pushed me to make this video is that a freak accident like this can happen at any time. And just last night, as of this recording, of course, was WWE Payback 2016, and Enzo Amore, if you haven't heard, is suffering from a severe concussion. He went out, the rope caught him on his head, slammed his head into the mat. It was pretty brutal. It actually really scared me as I was watching. I was just like, oh my God. I could tell he was not acting, he was not selling the being thrown out of the ring, that this was legitimately bad. This was a legitimately bad situation, and it just made me think that Enzo Amore very well could have been killed in the ring last night. So it pushed me more to make a video regarding Owen's freak accident. So with that being said, let's get into it. Finally, 4 minutes into the video. Sorry about my rambling. So Owen Hart is most well known for his death because of the nature of his death. And of course, if you're not familiar with it, Owen Hart was doing this character called the Blue Blazer, which was incredibly bad. It was horrible. A lot of people say it was a punishment because he didn't want to do a storyline. It's been argued either way by people that were with the company at the time and were backstage. Some people say it was a punishment, other people say it wasn't. Whatever the case, I personally think it was a punishment, because it made no sense for them to take him from being the incredible Owen Hart to being the Blue Blazer. I think it was a punishment because WWE has been known that if you don't play ball with them and you don't agree to do their kind of stuff, they will punish you one way or the other. And I think this was punishment that Owen would not go along with the ridiculous love triangle storyline that they wanted to have him in. So anyway, they did the Blue Blazer gimmick, and part of the gimmick was being lowered from the ceiling down into the ring. Now, this has been done many times before Owen's character even debuted, the Blue Blazer even debuted. This had been done over in WCW with Sting. This had been done with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12, very famous entrance against Bret Hart, another one of my favorite matches of all time. So this is something that's been done. This wasn't something that was relatively new, but it was definitely something that fans really liked, and unfortunately, because of Owen's death, they'll never do it again. But it was a cool effect, and it's kind of sad that they don't do it anymore, but I understand why, obviously. So Owen was to be lowered from the ceiling to the ring, and unfortunately at 70 feet above the ring, 70 feet in the Kemper Arena in Kansas City, Missouri, his harness somehow detached itself early, released itself early. He fell 70 feet, falling on the ring post and basically crushing his chest and dying of blunt force trauma. So that's what happened. And that, before I get into it, before I get all the messages asking me, no, there is no footage that exists of the fall. Supposedly some people said that there was. I don't believe there is, because the cameras weren't even on at the time of the fall, because they were running a vignette showing what was leading up to the Blue Blazer defending the Intercontinental Championship against the Godfather, who was actually scripted to win it that night. They were doing that, showing, the build-up to this match. So there is no fall footage. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the bullshit. However, there are plenty of pictures, including one where you can actually see Owen's unresponsive face. He just looks like he's asleep in the ring. It's nothing graphic. If you're scared that it's graphic, but you want to see it, it's not graphic at all. You'll be okay. So, and that was it. He died after the blunt force trauma, and it's been a huge, very, very controversial because of what happened. But in the end, it was a freak accident. You have crazy conspiracy theorists out there that like to say Vince killed Owen, Vince killed Eddie, Vince killed Chris Benoit, Vince killed all these guys, which is just completely ridiculously stupid. And people also say that it was Vince's fault, which I think is completely ridiculous as well. People blame Vince Russo, people blame Vince McMahon, saying that they forced him to go up there. But in the end, Owen Hart was a grown man that could make his own decisions and could have very well told them, no, I'm not doing it. I think of it like this. Every time I hear that excuse that, they forced him up there even though he was scared of heights. Owen had no problem turning down a fucking love triangle storyline and got punished for it. Why would this be any different? If he did not feel good about it, if he was scared of heights, like I'm scared of heights so I could relate, why would you do it? Why wouldn't you just tell him, no, I'm scared of heights, I'm sorry, I just can't do that? But he did it anyway, and people said, well, he had already told them no about the love triangle, and that he didn't want to tell them no about another thing. Well, it doesn't really matter why he did it. The fact is that he willingly did it, and he went up there and he did it. And a lot of people like to shift the blame away from Owen, but nobody's to blame here. It was a freak accident. Nobody is to blame. Of course, his widow, she likes to blame Vince. I think that's completely ridiculous. She won't let WWE do shit with him. There's a reason he's not in the video games because of her. He's not able to be celebrated in a better way because of her. And I just think it's ridiculous to squander your husband's legacy because of your own personal hard feelings. Now, I'm not saying she's wrong. God, I could not imagine how she feels having her husband die in the ring over some stupid, fucking ridiculous stunt. And I completely feel for her there. And I'm not going to lie and pretend that I know how she feels, because I don't. But in the end, you have to put your own personal feelings aside and say, do I want my husband's legacy suppressed? And that's exactly what's happening here. Happening here is that we can't fully celebrate Owen's career in life as a wrestler because his wife just refuses to let go of the fact that he died in the ring. And it's been almost 20 years, and we still have not had proper Owen Hart tributes. He's not in the Hall of Fame when he should be. He's not in the video games for fans to play as him that love him, and he should be. He's not all over the magazines and brought up on a regular basis because of all this bullshit, and he should be. And it's just too bad that personal feelings and grudges and whatnot get in the way of stuff like this. It's really just too unfortunate. But that's just my opinion on it. I don't think that anybody's to blame for Owen Hart's death. It was a freak fucking accident. Just like last night with Enzo Amore, as I mentioned earlier. If Enzo Amore had snapped his neck and died, which very, very well could have happened, would it have been right for Enzo's family to sue the company who made the ropes, who sued WWE saying, well, he should have been thrown under the fucking middle rope or under the bottom rope? That's completely ridiculous to sit there and sue these people. Now, the harness thing, I could understand a little more them suing over, because having a release like that is pretty stupid. It should have been harder to release, so I will give Martha that. But other than that, to sit here and almost 20 fucking years later, almost 2 decades later, and still be suppressing your husband's legacy, it's a bit selfish. And I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying, because like I said, I completely feel for her, and I completely feel for his kids that never really got to know him that great, because they were really young when he died. But come on, you know, do you really think Owen would be happy not being able to be remembered properly? I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, all of his friends get remembered properly because their families don't have grudges. The British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith, who was Owen's great friend. Brian Pillman, you know, and then other wrestlers whose families don't blame the company. You know, Eddie Guerrero, just tons. I'm not going to say or go down a list, but Eddie Guerrero and those other guys. You know, it's just too bad that that's what it's really come down to. It's just too bad. But anyway, guys, this video is going on long enough. That's just my opinion on the death of Owen Hart. It's a very controversial thing in wrestling, and I've never covered it on my channel, so I thought, hey, why not? I don't really have anything else to put up today. So I really want to know, what do you guys think? Do you think that Owen Hart's widow, Martha Hart, has the right and is in the right to suppress her husband's legacy? Or do you agree with me and you just think it's time to just let bygones be bygones and stop blaming the company? Because in the end, it wasn't the company's fault what happened. It wasn't anybody's fault. It wasn't Owen's, nobody's. It was a freak accident, and that's exactly what it is. End of story. Anyway, guys, this is Keith Carnes. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. I love having feedback. I love having convos with you guys. It's really, really fun to get other people's perspectives into a topic. And that's going to do it for me. So you guys take it easy, be safe, have a great week, and I will see you guys in the next.